Hello, good morning. Sure if you can see my video, but good morning, every single person that has joined. Really appreciate you for making time to join us this morning on Building from Ground Up, a UK Nigeria Tech Hub initiative. And basically it is around, just teaching, sharing experiences of, entrepreneurs who have gone through the journey of starting, building their businesses from the ground up, and just being able to, show some highlights to some of the people coming through. Opeyemi just joined us, and we will be starting shortly. I just want to make sure that everything is okay, so that I can, that we could go into it. So first of all, I want to know if you can see my video. Just could somebody go into the chat room and let them know if they can see my video? I can see the M no, M yes, hello, can't hear you. Yes, welcome everybody, welcome everybody. Welcome Wale Adeyemo, welcome Babatunde Raji, welcome Emmanuel Paul, welcome to Bim, Yinka, welcome Ifeoma, welcome Adeola Ajayi, welcome every single person that is joining us this morning. So I will be, like I said, I will be starting in a short bit. Just want to be able to make sure. Okay, you can see my video. Good. So I will be going straight into it. So Bill, I don't know if you have joined us for any of our previous conversations on building from ground up. Basically, it is brought to you by the UK Nigeria Tech Hub. And it is, I don't know if Opeyemi is also in here so that I can just be able to confirm. Opeyemi, are you in here?
Hi, I'm in here. I can hear you
Oh,
perfectly,
okay,
TJ.
okay. Okay. I just wanted to be sure and get to make sure that we're all in here. All right, so yes, we're good to go. We're good to go. We're good to go. So yes, I said welcome. Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. We do appreciate you, and we do appreciate you for joining us this morning. We apologize that we're starting a little late. Technical difficulties we're having this morning, and we've just been able to sort them to make sure that everything is seamless. All right, so this is an event brought to you by the UK Nigeria Tech Hub, and basically building from ground up is, like I said earlier, lessons to be able to help young entrepreneurs, just basically guide through and navigate through the starting points of their entrepreneurship journey. We will be joined by some, like we usually are. We always have a co-founder based, we always have a founder of a business, a successful business joining us. If you've not seen any of the previous, if you miss any of the previous interviews, I think we've had about 3 or 4 now, maybe even more. There were live sessions, but now it's online. So you want to go to the UK Nigeria Tech Hub page and just basically check links of some of the videos that have, of the interviews that have been done in the past. But for today, because of time, we're just going to go into the conversation, and I'm going to introduce our guest this morning. He is, I said he was a second-time entrepreneur when we were talking a couple of days ago, and he was like, no, it's like maybe 4-time, 5-time entrepreneur. He is a brand and product expert, graphic and web designer, who has co-founded a number of African-themed startups. He's an undergraduate. When he was an undergraduate, he started a business which a lot of people know. I'm going to say something to him when we start. There is a famous quote that I'm going to ask him if he remembers. But he has started a few companies in the past. He started with a few people, Jobberman. Right now, he's founded WhoGoHost, a cloud hosting platform. With his accomplishment in the African space, he decided to take on global opportunities, and that explains his entry into Indeed, much touted #1 job site in the world as a product manager. Since he's co-founding of Jobberman, if anybody remembers Jobberman, he has gone on to do things like Moneymie, which strives to democratize banking and in investment globally, and more recently, Talent HQ. I'm talking about the person of Opeyemi Awoyemi. Thank you very much for joining us, Opeyemi.
Thank you, Tunji, for having me.
So I wanted to start by reading this. I don't know if you remember this quote. It says, in 2009, Olalekan Elude, Awodeji Adewumi, and Opeyemi Awoyemi started a site called Jobberman, and in their dorm to help connect people looking for work with companies looking to hire. Now, Jobberman is one of the top 100 sites in Nigeria, and it gets 5,000 applicants a day. This was in 2016, Opeyemi. Do you remember this quote, and do you remember who said it?
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I can't. I think it's likely to be me or Deji, but I can't even recall now, frankly.
Apparently, it was said by the infamous Mark Zuckerberg, and he was just quoted. He was quoted and talking about your company at the time. What did you feel when you heard him talking about your business? I mean, the three of you probably might have done cartwheels and backflips and things like that at the time. But let me know, how was you feeling at the time? Because, you know, one of the things a lot of startups tend to feel is, are we making any impact? Are we making any impact? And then when you hear from one of the biggest founders across the globe that you are making some impact, it does something. I don't know what it does, but let me know. What does it do?
Yeah.
What did it do to you at the time?
Yeah, I think you've said it all, Tunji. I am not the kind of person that's really big on, like, you know, media, PR. Like, I don't like to toot my own horn. It kind of just, you know, happens as an after effect of the work that we do. But when I saw that one, it was like each validation. Like I shared it as much as I could, you know, with the whole world. I wanted the whole world to know that, yeah, Mark Zuckerberg just name checked me, you know. And that even culminated in another CNN feature where it was just about, hey, Mark Zuckerberg just name checked these guys. This doesn't really happen. This doesn't happen often. Seeing that come from like a global leader, a billionaire, someone who's kind of made impact, like everybody knows, you know, it just kind of made me feel like we were doing something that was worth it. And yeah, I will never forget that day.
So for people who, what exactly do you do? Because I know that these days in the middle of startup, the word co-founder can mean anything. It can mean a number of things. Back in the day, it used to be just straight up MD or CEO, CFO, CT. I know we still have some of those terms today, but co-founder means a number of things, and it just almost, you know, shrouds what the person does, particularly in a lot of, you know, mystery. So what exactly does Opeyemi do?
Good question. Yeah. So I pretty much operate on a couple of should I say stances in the companies I help co-found. And it started from pretty much from my background in design, and then afterwards in tech. So when I co-found a company, I'm either like the CTO type of person, where I'm kind of handling technology, then product, because of my intersection between design, marketing, and technology. I tend to be very good at product management, product development, strategy. So I'm either like chief product officer, leading product strategy. How should this product work? How should this product grow? How should we acquire customers? So that's the part where I'm kind of like leading towards into like digital marketing, growth hacking. I do a bit of all of that. I think it's on TalentQL. I've kind of contributed a bit of, extra skill, like that was more domain specific, because, I've had like all the experience from Jobberman and also from Indeed, where on TalentQL, I spent a lot of time, helping to shape the vision of the company, and also not just the vision, the product strategy from a domain specific point of view in terms of how do you recruit talent, which kind of talent should we be recruiting, right? And also still doing like growth tech and the typical product stuff. So it's a mix of a lot of things. But over the years, I've also seen myself grow from being like super technical, to being the guy that is now like a business person. I haven't spent a decade running businesses, right? So that being said, now I can pretty much be CEO, chief commercial officer, chief finance officer. Ah, I think to a large extent, I pretty much can wear different hats. It all depends on the situation, and I think that's the value I bring to the companies I co-found, and I guess that kind of also explains a bit, just a bit, of how I got myself into co-founding or serial co-founding. Let me put it that way.
So let me ask. Still on this co-founder conversation, I was in a clubhouse room yesterday where somebody was, she was so dejected. I think she's front end. She's a front end developer, and she was talking about the fact that she needed a co-founder to be able to help with the back end of her business. And it was a case of, where will I find this kind of a person? How will I find them? At least your first business started with you and two other people. I want to know how did you find yourselves then up to subsequent businesses? How did you assemble the first set of co-founders, or if it was just you, fine. But if you brought in co-founders in your subsequent businesses, how did you find them? People say it's like a marriage. How did you come to the dating and all of that conversation with your co-founders?
Cool. So I think the first one, okay, maybe I should start this way. In every single one of my co-founding experiences, I think it's been the process has been deliberate around getting co-founders. Very deliberate. Not a lot of dating, but I mean, when you see the right people, you just know. And the reason why you know is because, number one, you get the sense of complementary skills and complementary interest in that vision. It might take you a while to find them, but somehow you just find them at the end of the day. In the first instance, in the case of Jobberman, right? I had the idea, in my third year in college, and the business didn't really take off until like the fifth year, when it was actually Deji that found me in this case, right? Where Deji's like, hey, okay, there's this jobs thing you've been working on for a while. I think it can go somewhere. Let's see what we can do on it together. And I'm like, yeah, okay, let's see. Prior to that, myself and Deji, we've exchanged ideas, tried to do a couple of other stuff together. So pretty much I already knew him as the kind of person who was ambitious, had strong strategy experience, right? And could also lead a company. So for me at that point in time, still being a core tech person, it made sense to hook up with AG, to do that. And then we now discovered that we needed some level of finance ops person, and we asked ourselves who was the strongest person that we knew that could be in this position. And yeah, the name came clear to us. It was Lekon. Lekon at that point in time had spent some time at Goldman Sachs. We knew him as someone who was like very detailed, thoughtful, in terms of how he designs processes and whatnot. And so we felt like, hey, let's talk to Lekon, and we had that discussion. It was like, yeah, you guys are like the kind of guys I would love to work with. So let's do it, So pretty much that was the first one. The second co-founding experience wasn't really more of a co-founding experience. It was more of me uh, getting the second employee at WhoGoHost, to take over the reins of management, to get to be more of a leader, and the person grew into being the CEO of the business. So it was more like internal co-founder, and pretty much it was a similar experience. Note, I said second employee, I didn't say first employee, which meant that the first employee didn't quite work out, right? So it was not, it was the second employee that worked out, right, in that kind of arrangement. So I could also see the readiness to learn, the alignment around vision on where the company could possibly go, uh, you know, mutual respect of the skills each person brings to the table. Like my now, let me call him co-founder, my now co-founder and CEO of WhoGoHost, right? Is an amazing guy, super strong on operations, right? Not the kind of person you see on Twitter, Instagram, like you might not even recognize him, right? You don't find him in the tech WhatsApp groups or whatnot, right? But he's a silent executor who just gets stuff done, and he's grown the business massively. So I respected that in him, and he also respected my own growth skills, ability to identify opportunities, to bring those ideas to the table, to quickly fashion a way to test out MVPs, and move fast, right? So there was also that complementary, skill set, and also mutual respect. And I've also seen the same, in other businesses. So like TalentQL, for example, Adewale is someone I've known for a couple of years now. I remember when he wanted to start Tech Point, and in my mind I was like, blog, like, yeah, what are you really gonna do? You get the point, and like you want to take pictures of Jobberman, like, yeah, go ahead, take our pictures, right? you know, and you build that stuff from like something that nobody cared about to something that is to be reckoned with, the media has to be reckoned with today in Nigeria. So I saw that ambition, I saw that relentlessness in getting stuff done, right? And if Adewale has one skill, that's it. So when he told me like, I am thinking about building out a talent city out of Ife. And for me, Ife is something I'm passionate about. Like I grew up in Ife. I'm also from Ile-Ife. I also schooled in Ile-Ife, Osun State. My parents still live in Osun State till date, right? And this is something I've thought about. This is something that I think beyond just business really, matters to my soul. I was like, no, I had to be part of this, right? So I was first investor in, and it's like, hey, you know more about this space. I have the dream, I have the vision, you have the information. Let's do this together. I'm like, yeah, I know I've co-founded a couple of things, but now I'm going to do this with you because I know you can get it done. So you can see how those recurring themes around ability to execute, complementary alignment, mutual respect, how it comes in. Same thing for Moneymie that I'm building now, right? In the US, which is a digital bank for migrants, right? My co-founders as well, complementary skills, alignment around what needs to be done. It's taken us a while to kind of get to the right place. Like, hey, is this the right team? Is this the right people I'm working with? Are we aligned? Are we going the same direction? But once you see it, once you clarify those things, you just find that good. Now, to now answer the question specifically around like the lady that was looking for, for a co-founder. I think I also advise folks that look for co-founders within your network, or look for referrals from within your network, right? And be quite open about what you're looking for. And also like, hey, this is what I want. I'm looking for someone who can help me here, someone who can contribute this kind of skills and who also believes in the vision. Also be quite, magnanimous around how you think about your co-founder and their own contribution to the business, what you are willing to give them in return for their contribution to the business. I think that's where a couple of people fail when it comes to co-founder search. So what they are looking for is they're looking for glorified employees, not co-founders, right? And you're not going to find a super talented person that's going to become a glorified employee to you. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's not going to happen, and when you're looking for that, you're not going to get it, or you get a bad match, right? But I don't also want to kind of necessarily make it look like it's like super easy. So for example, in terms of co-founder searching in the US for myself, when I was looking for a co-founder for Moneymie, I really searched hard, right? I really searched hard. I realized the fact that it still needed to come from my network. And I reached deeper into my network and I found the right people. So that's it.
Solid. You just give us a run the businesses that you're doing, which of course it aligns with the questions I'm asking. But going back, one of the things I've also realized with a few multiple time founders is that, of course, with each new business, it gets easier. The skill is built itself. I mean, that is also built like every other skill. But let's go back to the the beginnings and the areas where it was difficult, where things like finance was a problem, where even having people believe in the fact that you could produce and you could deliver on this product was a problem. Now, of course, I mean, if you walk into any room and say, I can deliver on this, and then they look at your track record, it's easier to believe now. But it's you that was there, like, in 2014, 2013. Bless you.
Thank you.
But the conversation is, how did you pass through those beginning periods? I've heard a few stories about your starting out point. I want to go back to the days of the conversation of Jobberman, and I don't know if it is true, but I heard that you guys were working out of an office somewhere on the island after you came back from school, and that it was like somebody gave you a small corner of their office to use. This is a story that is going around, so you want to correct it if it is wrong. But there's also the story that getting to work was also a challenge at times. Is it true? Because I mean, now there's all and roses, so you can deny it.
Yeah, I mean, it's 90% true. Of course, with a little bit of embellishment there to kind of make it look a bit, cleaner, startup-ish style, grass to gray story. But then the reality was, it was rough. I recall the moment I left Ife and moved to Lagos, right? I had this Caterpillar bag and one poly bag. That was all I took from Ife, and I took it to Lagos. That bag still exists, by the way. I'm going to do a photo shoot with it one of these days to show all I brought from Ife to Lagos, so it's more like, started from the bottom, now we're here kind of stuff, right? And so yes, we had an office in Kakawa CMS. It wasn't quite like a small corner. It was quite big, at that point in time. The office, Chicken will be got us the office, but getting to the office was quite hard. These were the days when, of course, we didn't have cars. So we relied on Okada and, taking those white buses to work. I remember vividly myself and Lekon, being together on one Okada, sometimes from CMS to Lekki. No, we're still a bit lucky. We're living in Lekki, right? Of course, squatting with someone, right? Back and forth, then getting into buses, trying to get seats at the back, just so, if we're not crossing when they're, trying to alight, on the way from Lekki to Kakawa or the other way, right? But we just kind of looked forward to those days when all of that was gonna change, and eventually things got better. Pretty much every startup, right, faces some variant of this. And interestingly, even when you've done it before, if you have to do it again, right, you still face some variant of it, right? When you start up in the first few months or first few years, the first steps are we did with mistakes, we did with faults. Even if you put a lot of money to it, you still find some issues. It's I mean, some people go out there from day one, they kind of strike gold. But even when you think they've struck gold, what really happens internally, we just don't get to kind of hear those stories, unfortunately, you know. From the internal squabbles to the lack of product market fit to growing too fast with technology infrastructure failing, to regulation issues like we're currently seeing, in
Yeah,
Nigeria
yeah,
today, so
yeah.
you've got all of those stuff. Like I tweeted something, I saw something yesterday and I tweeted about it. 5 months after Uber launched, the city of San Francisco actually gave Uber a cease and desist letter, right? That kind of just, it just kind of bust my brain that, oh, it's not today that Uber has been getting cease and desist letters. They got it 5 months after launch, Just think about it. Those boys should have
Their muscle is now strong around it.
exactly. They should have closed it down there, like, oh man, this wala is too much, just cease and desist letter everywhere. And it was cease and desist letter. If they continue, they were gonna get $5,000 fine or a 90-day jail term, They could have closed it down and then would have no Uber today, But here we are today, 10 years after, So maybe the biggest thing I've learned all through all of that is that your startup becomes better every single day, every single day. It becomes better every single day. So the more you slave at it, the more you toil at it, the more you just kind of get used to, some of those issues, the more you solve some of those issues, you just kind of build more execution muscle, right? And you're
Yeah,
able to just do more, over time and get rid of those issues. In the case of Jobberman specifically, in the early days, we're like, how would companies believe us? Right. In fact, there
yeah,
was a day, I remember this particular day, I took the Guardian newspaper. I opened, they said, guys, let us know the size of the market. This newspaper is the size of the market. How many jobs are inside this Tuesday Guardian? Let's count, right? And after we can say, put all the jobs, put it times 5,000 naira. What is the size of the market? And as far as we're concerned, we're like, man, why are we wasting our time? This market is just too small. You get the point.
yeah.
But little did we know that there were like hundreds of thousands of jobs that were
Yeah.
not in Guardian newspaper that was waiting for someone to build Jobberman so that they could get online and they could get out there, and that's what happened eventually, So yeah,
The
it's
question I want to ask is, what kept you going? Because I know that there are a lot of, oh, let me go and look for a job. Then in the middle of the whole trying to build a business, maybe you're talking to someone who has probably trying to raise capital, or so you're trying to do one thing, and then somebody says, "Why are you doing this thing? Come and help me manage this thing. You have skills. I can, we'll be paying you 300K." And you look at it that you have needs right now. Oh, that killed Jesus. Let me just go and continue this thing. It's not is Nigeria's problem is not my father's inheritance. Let me go and sort
yeah.
myself out. But what kept you guys going? Something must have been, because there were many opportunities for you to give up. Why did you keep going?
Yeah, so I think for me it boiled down to two things. One was I kind of weigh whether I should continue working on something by some early signaling and interaction, which could be by just people being interested in that product, or people just, re-echoing the sentiments that there's a problem here, there's a problem there. We would love to see someone solve it. You get the point. So that's one. So you know that even if you're not doing it the right way, you know that you're not exactly crazy, right? You're at least moving in the direction of providing a service that people want. That's one. And I think the second thing was actually, at least at the Jobberman for the Jobberman days, my co-founders, right? Having other people to lean on who can give you another perspective those days when you're feeling down, right? Can be super important, right? Where someone can tell you, hey, okay, you thought the market size was this, but why don't you think about it this way? Why don't you think about this way? Why don't we try this? Why don't we try this? So you feel down today, you encourage the next moment. The next day, another of your co-founders feels a bit down. You're the one encouraging them, right? So those, peer encouragement, peer uplifting, it goes a long way. I would say that's what really worked for us. In the early days of Jobberman, and yeah, it turned out well. Tunji, I think your screen is frozen. With a very big grin. Yeah.
This morning, and he was just talking about he's American, by the way. One of those billionaires who has made their money from the ecosystem, and right now are angry with all the VCs in the world. And they're like, VCs are bloodsuckers and things like that. Basically that was his opinion. I wanted to ask, how did you guys, in your first Jobberman and your multiple other businesses, how did you raise money? Because I get the fact that, a lot of people see all the newspaper publishing that, this person raised 2 million, this person raised 3 million. And it gives a lot of, startup founders the impression that there's just money on the floor, go there and pick your own, and then you talk to founders and they're like, we're looking for money, we're looking for money. So there's a massive disparity, so how did you guys raise money the first time, when you didn't have a name, when you didn't have a, Jobberman in your history, when you didn't have any of that?
Good question. Yeah. So I should say for the record that after 11 years of doing entrepreneurship full time, right, I still don't know how to raise money. That's for a fact, right? And you think you do until you actually get to the fundraising circuit and you discover that you don't, right? And I've also invested in a couple of startups myself, over the years, right? My own money, WhoGoHost money, syndicates money, and yeah, what helped us the first time, Jobberman. I think we're just building a solution to a big problem, right? And we're putting ourselves out there enough for the right folks to identify us. So like Chika, who will be of L5 Lab, then reached out to us. We didn't reach out to him, right? For Jobberman. Tiger Global, who led our seed round, also reached out to us. We didn't reach out to them. So we're just, and interestingly, the fact that they reached out to us was something that was even by design. So I recall that prior to Jobberman, I mentioned that I had worked with Deji on some stuff before then. We worked on an awards event called Top 30 Under 30, and we also tried to do a property portal, which didn't quite work out. For the property portal, we're both students at Opeyemi Awoyemi University, and we wanted to raise 50 million naira, right, to build a property portal, right? We'd been talking to investors. We used to go to Lagos, try and talk to investors. We had too many trips to Lagos, and at some point I told Deji, I said, Deji, all this fundraising thing, I don't know about it though, but I'm not interested anymore. These guys are just stringing us around. Like, why are they doing this? Do they want to invest, yes or no? And I think this was the old Opeyemi being very cocky. Maybe I'm still, maybe I still am, but then I was really cocky and, believed I could conquer the world. So I'm like, hey, I'm not speaking to those people anymore, right? So one of the things I told Deji when I start Jobberman is, Deji, we are not going to look for money, right? We are going to bootstrap, right? And I told them, because I'm not interested in explaining to anybody why my dream will work if they don't believe in it from day one. I told them, I said, I don't care to explain anything to anybody. Right. Okay. And in fairness, at that point in time, those were not the glamour days of $3 million being raised here, $10 million being raised here. So there was no FOMO of like peer pressure. Like some people are raising money, go and raise your own. It was just, I'm trying to do a business here. We need money to do it. If you want to give me, give me. If you don't want to give me, go away. Simple, right? But then it worked out for us. Chika invested, um, Tiger Global invested $1 million in us then super early. I didn't even believe it was going to happen. Was super shocked when that happened, And then, of course, we've seen a lot of businesses like Iroko, Jumia, then, get into raise
Yeah.
huge funding and whatnot. Down the line, I've raised money for other ventures, right? But I find out that in each case, the story is one thing that investors are very interested in. They want to just kind of understand the unique story of the problem you are trying to solve. They want to get a sense of pedigree or why you're the right person to solve it. They also want to get a sense of your traction in some cases, especially when they don't know a lot about the business. So the more they know about the space, the less they're interested in traction, because like you can say, hey, this will work. I really want to see this work. So at the end of the day, investing is a bit of sport and science. Sport in the sense that, oh, I want to see this happen. I'm going to back someone that is doing it. I'm going to back the best person I can find that is doing it. And the part of, oh, I don't know, I don't care about the space. I really just need to get some validation numbers or stats to see whether this person can win in this space, right? And then the back as well, you know. So I mean, a bit of everything of that, right? It's like super important when you're trying to raise money. Also, I've also discovered that for most people that are very good at fundraising, they actually talk to a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
I've seen founders who spoke to like 100 of investors before they can even get their first check, right? So that stuff is not easy, right? But the reality is, once you get your first check in, it's easier to get the rest of the checks, right? As long as I get traction. So so it's a very small micro entrepreneurship journey on its own in the
On
art
its
of
own.
fundraising. Yeah.
True,
Yeah.
true. I completely agree with that. There is the small conversation now of so you guys, I mean, one of the quickest things I saw was that you guys were got a lot of quick attention very early, and that attention helped build a lot of things in terms of infrastructure, background, and all of that. But I need to also ask. You have this product now. It's clear to at least you guys in some small form or fashion. Over the years, you've built a product, and then you want to get it out to market. And I've sat down with a few people who've done that, and yeah, they keep telling you once we launch, well, at least we're expecting like 100,000 in the first 1 month, and they launch and they start refreshing their backend like day one
This is not
nobody, day
working.
two day two nobody, day three nobody. What did you guys experience that?
Yeah, we did experience that as well, right? I mean,
How did you overcome it? How did you keep going?
so I think in our own case, we were quite lucky, a bit lucky. We're solving a problem that was like super big. So all we needed to do was to communicate the problem and to put ourselves out there. And fortunately, we had the skill sets, right, and the support to do that. Like in the very early days in Ife, I remember that was when Facebook started booming, right? We would go and meet our friends who we knew had like a lot of Facebook followers, especially the girls. And we'll ask them to log in into their accounts, and they will start inviting all their friends to join the Jobberman Facebook group. Right. We did
Good.
we did lots of that.
Good.
Like I mean, we tried out different kind of acts, email marketing, SMS marketing. We pretty much were just like very obsessed around like, hey, how do people hear about you, you know, and getting yourself into those places where they're going to hear about you. And thankfully, Jobberman was targeting like a super large demographic, right? So we
Yeah.
didn't have to kind of like, be super pristine around, hey, you target this kind of audience, you need the brand to be looking like this or like that. We're just like spray and pray. and they worked out very well for us. I think even till the Jobberman is still one of those platforms that has like the most users in terms of digital platforms in Nigeria, right? Um, so that worked out. Worked out quite well for us in terms of getting users to join the platform. Um, but then it wasn't just like from day one. Initially started with like 500 people, 600 people, and we started kind of like, looking for those opportunities. SEO, is it, the Facebook thing I just mentioned. So what I always like to advise founders to do is be clear on how your platform is going to grow from day one, right? Be clear on it. I mean, let it be part of how you think about the product in itself. So whatever you're building, who is going to use it? Where are they, and how are you going to get them, right? Bring all of that needs to go into the product strategy pretty much from day one. Growth should not be an afterthought, right? It should not be, oh, it's the job for the marketing guy. No, right? Some products, like especially when you think about social products, right? It's growth is at the heart of the product itself. It's built. In fact, the USP itself has to be a growth arc, in a way, So if even the name of the company, right? Are we going to be mobile based, web based? All those decisions, it needs to be done with a growth question of how are we going to grow, in mind. Once you figure that out, then it's easy for you to grow once you now have sort of like setting up the platform, infrastructure, and whatnot. So yeah, I think we were lucky, like I said earlier. That was like our sweet spot. At least my own superpower, right, was growth. Once every other thing is figured out, growth becomes easy because we've thought about it from day one. Yeah, so.
Pretty much. The growth story of multiple businesses, especially with the African context. So I want to hear your thoughts. So I tend to be in a couple of rooms, virtual and real, where venture capitalists from across the world, even sometimes what do you call them? Pension funds from across the world, just listening in. And there is this look at Africa, like, the way you look at toddlers, like, yeah, you grew up one day, look at, so cute, coming through. And compared to at least the global competitors and the kind of money those guys are pulling in. But I've always, low key thought about it on the background. It's almost like we're building just for our small, Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that, if the question is the farmers, you hear that they are sustenance farmers. They are building to eat first, and then a little to go to market.
Yeah.
I feel like the ecosystem as a whole, we are still feeling that way, but on a larger scale. So it's like 1 million sustenance farming, because at the end of the day, when we raise $1 million, how much of the global market can we attack with $1 million? So it's definitely for a Nigerian market and maybe a little bit of some other African, conversations. I want to ask why you think we're not building bigger, and what kind of ambition do you think we can start to have? I'm asking this question because of some of the discussions we've had recently around people like Elon Musk and some of the things they are doing on such a, outstanding scale. Elon Musk is thinking about going, SpaceX is crazy on any level. I mean, it's completely mad on any level, but he's doing it, and what will it take for an entrepreneur to start?
Chinji, I'm not sure whether you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Okay,
That was
cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Steve Jobs quotes the famous quote, "The air is to the crazy ones," right? Comes in and the air, right? Misfits, the rebels, troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes. Um, the reality is to do things like what Elon does, right? You have to be crazy, right? You have to be passionate about solving that problem. Um, I think the biggest challenge with African entrepreneurs, myself inclusive, I think first lies with a lot of us are pretty much still sustenance entrepreneurs, right? And for a lot of reasons. So when you grow up in Africa, you're pretty much thinking about like feeding yourself first, right? Even after you've fed yourself a little bit, you discover that feeding has different levels to it in Africa, right? Um, you want to feed yourself to the point where society feels you feel good about yourself in your society, whether it's a small town or it's Lagos, and whatnot, right? There's no safety net as well, so you feel the urge to keep on going and going and going, which also explains a bit of the corruption in the society as well, so so nobody's having like larger than life dreams on I want to change this for good, right? It's always myself, 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 and for a lot of reasons, a lot of people feel like Africans, we lack ambition actually as a result. Like, no, we also, but we don't also because we're ambitious, but also because we are hungry, right? Whether it's real hunger or perceived hunger, you get the point. So we also not because we have abundance mentality and want to just create more. We also because we have scarcity mentality, right? That's one part of it. Then there's also the real part of the fact that it's just like super hard, to build for problems that you do not understand. So I have lived in the US now for close to 2 years. And one of the things I told myself when I was leaving Nigeria, when I moved my family to the US, was that I was never going to be for Nigeria anymore. I remember telling myself that I was never going to be for Nigeria. As far as I was concerned, I had built WhoGoHost, I had built Jobberman, and I think those are two category defining businesses in Nigeria. And like I've done my bits. Let me go and do my bit for the world, right? That was the way I felt about it. But here I am, still continuing to build for Africa. So two things have happened. One, you discover at some point that this is where your art is. This is what you understand. This is the pinpoints that you can feel, that close to your heart. This is where they are. You get the point, And talking about a bit of even switching the gears on from being selfish. So I wanted to build a global business for selfish reasons, right? Because I wanted to kind of fulfill my own potential as I'm building a global business, and also for like the huge rounds, those things, right? We'll be celebrating someone raising $10 million in Nigeria. Like people raise $10 million easy, you know, in the US, what we call what they call a product here in Nigeria is a feature that no one will pay for. You get the point? So it's like they just people building random. They're like, really, someone is paying for this, and they're bidding $100 million on top of this. So I was, I wanted that, but I started getting drawn back to where I could feel the problems. That there is that. But I think what we can do as an ecosystem, one, is to help developers, the people that are coming behind, to understand that some problems are not necessarily, demographically defined, right? So if you're a developer problems are the same everywhere in the world, right? Productivity problems are the same pretty much everywhere in the world. Tools that help you to create stuff on Instagram or whatever, creator tools, the problems are the same pretty much everywhere in the world, right? We need to help, folks to understand that, they can build for the world. And it's something but I want to be very focused. There's something I also be like super passionate about. Like maybe I should even start like a SaaS in fact, I even kind of started talking about it. And last year, I invested in at least 4 SaaS companies out of Nigeria that were building with a view of going global, right? And for me, this was like, at the very least, let's build cheaper versions of what already exists in the Western world, right? If we don't do it for being superior technology-wise, let's do it because it's going to create hundreds of jobs, and over time we would get to learn to do this better, and we might even get better than the folks we learned it from. China is a perfect example of how they've gotten better at building products and even putting cultural context into it to win. Like, WeChat is such a wonder, right? WhatsApp is a disappointment for Nigeria within that space. I have some huge thesis I'm thinking about that space, but I'm focused now, so I'm not launching anything again. But I mean, when I say it's a disappointment, I won't go into details, but I know exactly what I'm saying when I say WhatsApp has not met the needs of Nigerians, and the opportunity was there, but I guess Facebook has their own reasons for doing stuff the way they are. But look at what WeChat did, right? Pretty much capturing the opportunity. There are opportunities like that in Africa. So there are opportunities also to just be like India and build this SaaS and serve the rest of the world, And I see that already happening in the talent space, Andela there, TalentQL there, and I look forward to seeing that happen from founders too as well. We might need to, invest in some founders, get people like, Tope Awotono, to help lead those kind of charge, inspire, help folks to see what they can co-invest in SaaS coming out of Africa that are built for the world, help people to, people like myself and other people in the US, help to create those sales engines to help those teams sell, to the world. Payment systems is done now. That's no longer the issue, but there's still the part of sales and marketing to be figured out, investing first rounds, second rounds before we can, expose them to like the really big investors, and maybe YC is not even doing a great job in helping here. For real, I will tell you, if you're a Nigerian company and you go to YC today, YC is going to be looking at you bidding for Africa. If they are talking about bidding for the world, you're not going to get a lot of attention. That's the reality, that's the reality. So when it comes to those kind of things, this is where you find the Western world defining what they want from us and how they want us to express, our creativity. And we are the ones that can solve those problems for ourselves. I don't know whether it's too early, whether it's too late. But I mean, if anything, I know is the fact that the world is becoming even more global super fast, right? A lot of the elements that were like super hard 10 years ago are no longer super hard. Now, pretty much every startup founder in Nigeria knows that they could set up their company in Delaware from day one, right? And it costs you less than $500 to do it, So immediately you're exposed to global payment systems. You can have bank accounts in America and all that kind of stuff, So should I say the pillars, the obstacles are getting, are going down. The walls are going down little by little, right? And I believe that over the next 10 years, we'll have billionaires in tech from Nigeria. Let's say over the next 20 years, right? Billionaires in tech for Nigeria who are building solely for the globe. Those guys are probably still in college, now either in the US, in anywhere, or even in Nigeria, right? They're going to do far better than, what we've done, the Flutter Waves, the trade depots, the Cobotrices that are doing for Nigeria. They're going to do far better than us because they're going to build for the world from the one, and it's going to become a norm and not like the rarity that we have today. But it's just a matter of time. But it's definitely going to happen. Most likely, it's not going to be me, understandably, but I want to make sure I'm investing in some of those opportunities as they begin to evolve and to surface. Yeah.
Right, so want to say that please, you can start sending in your questions now. We'll start taking your questions. Go to the question and answers button at the bottom of your screen or your phone, and basically just type in your questions for Opeyemi. You know that this was brought to you. It is being brought to you by the UK Nigeria Tech Hub. It's an initiative of the UK government's Department of Digital Culture, Media and Sports to support the growth of technology ecosystem in Nigeria. Building from ground up is basically what you've experienced right now. Talking about speaking with founders and basically just, probing those difficult parts of their growth stage. What happened, the difficult issues in raising money, the difficult issues in finding co-founders, and basically good staff and things like that, why they had to go into the kind of business they went into. So I'm going to take some of your questions now, and Opeyemi would answer them real time. Yes, it's working. That's the whole idea. Somebody went into the Q&A space and says, is this working? Yes, it's working. Let me see. I'm not sure. Okay, so if you can also send the questions if you're having challenges with that. You can also send questions in the chat space. Let me see if we have any questions here. Oh, we have somebody who is reaching this from Gombe State. Interesting. Let me see.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm also loving about how internet is kind of democratizing those opportunities in Nigeria. Like, someone from Gombe is reaching out. I'd love to see people from Gombe build interesting stuff, for Nigeria and also for the world. Yeah.
I think I always think about it that maybe it's too late for me to learn how to code, but I think I'm paying much attention to this no code conversation. Maybe that's the hope for me yet, to be a developer. Who knows?
Exactly. Yeah. So no code is also like an interesting space. I mean, not everything is about code. It's really about just creating value, So and there's a lot of no code tools now that pretty much can even get you to the level of building really structured apps, right? There are no code companies. I mean, startups that have been built on no code have exceeded $1 million in revenue on an annual basis already, and I've raised also millions of dollars of funding, and they are like no code platforms, startups built on no code tools, So yeah, as long as you're creating value, I mean, the world is at your feet now. Yeah.
Chinonzo is asking a question here that has also been on my mind, and I think I've asked it in part in the past, but let me just see. So he says, generally, I notice that people who get successful with tech startups are already popular in the ecosystem. Can someone who is not on the ecosystem build a tech startup?
Good question. I think it's not necessarily true that people who get successful with tech startups are already popular in the ecosystem. I don't think it's necessarily true. I can point out at least 4 or 5 startups in Nigeria that were built by people that were not popular in the ecosystem. Starting with myself, when we started, that were not popular in the ecosystem. ESL, that's ESL, Patient Africa, interesting business, gentle founder, but strong guy who's executing, doing billions of naira in revenue on an annual basis, not popular in the ecosystem. There are a lot of folks that are not even popular even till date, and they're like doing super well, right? All the betting companies, most of their founders, we don't know them. Like, I mean, I know them, but I mean, they're not like out there, apart from like Akin Alabi, who else is out there, you're not going to see them on the streets on every day, whatnot. So you can build a business and get successful without being popular in the ecosystem. It's not the tech ecosystem that buys your product, remember, right? So sometimes the ecosystem is just noise, right, between you and I. So it's not about like the ecosystem in itself. And also there is something that gets you admitted into the ecosystem, quote and unquote, if there was like an admission. And that's doing something that is exceptional, right? So just think about it. How does Anders Horowitz find the next startup to invest in? What they do basically is they're looking for those ideas. They're looking for those crazy guys who are building the next. Those go have those sharp insights, and once they find them, they pretty much bring them up into this so-called ecosystem. What does YC do? Y Combinator. That's what Y Combinator does. So yes, you might need to leverage the resources in the ecosystem, But the way to reach out and get yourself into that so-called ecosystem, to get start meeting people, is by being your best, right? Just being the best at what you do. Know your space well, right? Build your tools well. Add those sharp insights, those sharp answers to problems that nobody else has figured out, right? And then start doing the outreach. You will find help. You will find help, right? But when you don't have like sharp insights, you want to build an e-commerce company that will rival Jumia, and you've never done it before. There's no sharp insight on how you're going to do it better, and you also don't have the money, you don't have the relationships. Then things get a bit wonky, and it's like nah. So yeah, but if you come correct, definitely you get the help you need.
All right, so this person, Babatunde Lawal, is asking what would it take to have you as a venture advisor? I think he or she, okay, he runs Asiki, says it's fixing the broken supply chain of food in Nigeria. But I think you should reach out to Opeyemi on a private basis. Let's not put him on the spot. What advice? This is a Kichuku. What are your advice? What's your advice on how to break into other African countries for a start, launching a product for Nigeria and other African countries? This is Ikechuku from Abuja. How do you enter another African country?
Yeah, good question. I think the first thing you need to do is to be successful in your first market, right? And then leverage the money you've raised or the people that you know to find some initial exposure into these other countries. And you can do it in different ways. There is the part of getting an advisor who is in that country who can help you get in to the right networks. There's the part of going through PR, press. There's a part of actually flying down into that country yourself, and get to spend time and understand the country a bit more, and then you start figuring things out. There's a part of you be doing super well in your country such that you raise enough money to find the right people to help you grow in those other countries, right? There's no straight way to do it. There's just a couple of different ways you could do it, depending on the on what you're trying to do, right, and the level of touch, right? That is it high touch, where you really need to be on the ground, or low touch, where it's like internet stuff, and you're just saying, oh, you want more clients from this particular country, So there are different ways to look at it, but at the end of the day, you just need to find a way to get information on how to grow in that market, right? At the end of that's what you're looking for, whether you're spending money to do it or you leveraging someone else to do it, right? Or you're going in there to figure it out yourself. That's what you just need to do. And a good example is the way you find Westerners, fly down from US, Europe, and come to Nigeria, and start living here in Nigeria with us, and they figure it out after some time. They go to ops, they talk to people, they take their notes, they take questions. Like, look at what Transsion has done. Transsion is the biggest smartphone manufacturer in Africa, right? With itel, Infinix, and Techno, 3 brands, right? And pretty much those guys they just flew down there. Yeah, they've come here to understand exactly what is needed, and they've continued to execute and execute and execute. And yes, they've won. So there's a lot we can take on that level of, if you want something, you just go there, to figure it out. Yeah, that's my thoughts.
Ed says, what advice would you give to a founder who is trying to start up a service that which regards to investing money for proprietary tech or using off-the-shelf software like SaaS platforms? So the person is trying to get proprietary software tech. I don't know if the person is a developer themselves or they are going to pay for the development of the technology. That is, Moha, you want to give us some more clarity on that?
I think I can take the question. So the person is wondering whether build from scratch or from ground up, right? Or take some existing software that exists and use it. I would say start lean as much as you can, right? And just solve the problems, get product market fit before you invest too much money. That's like the general advice. I've seen people who've taken the other way, right? And say, I'm just going to build everything from ground up because they're like strategic reasons where you needed to own everything from ground up. But I would say that's not true in most cases, right? Half of the time, people that say that it's just egoistic and lack of knowledge, right? Because you could always rebuild from ground up. I mean, a good example is Clubhouse, right? Clubhouse is a voice platform. And you know the interesting part? The voice technology that they use, they don't build it, right? They use Agora. They don't build it. So it's pretty much their most expensive part of the whole stack. But I guess at some point they will start building it themselves, right? Because if they don't build it out, they definitely cannot be a sustainable business. It's just going to be too expensive for them to continue to run. But what was important, let's validate whether this thing can work. You get the point. And now that they've validated, they can raise all the money in the world and go and build that stuff. You know, I find that being a much more pragmatic strategy than trying to always build everything yourself. So I would say it's contextual, but it's just easier to take off the shelf platforms, validate the problem, get some early customers, and then use the money from early customers and then maybe money you raise after you with that traction, and then you can now start thinking of investing more in proprietary stuff.
As a matter of fact, Clubhouse is now thinking of building their own. I was listening to one of the co-founders in one of the town hall meetings, I think it was yesterday, and that was some of the thoughts. You know, it's a long-term conversation, but they now have to, you know, do that because people are beginning to think about it. So yeah, you're right on that. Start first. Important thing is start first.
Exactly.
Oluwaseyi Oladipo is asking B2B or B2C, which do you think is easier to build in Africa?
Well, I mean, it's also very contextual. It depends on your superpowers, right? So I started with a B2C superpower, right? And basically because I've pretty much built networks, right? B2B can be easier for me today. Like wherever I want to meet, without humility, I can pick up a phone and, you know, and reach out, you know. But if you don't have those connections, B2C can be really easy, you know. A lot of people say B2C is hard because of the fact that purchasing power parity is low in Nigeria, but nonetheless, it's still an audience of 200 million people. So it depends on what you're selling and whether the market wants it, right? So I wouldn't say any is harder. So maybe this is just the way to put it. If you have the network, right, you have experience in the space, you can walk into offices yourself. B2B might be the best way. But if you don't have all of that and you're just a dreamer who wants to get stuff done, B2C is the answer. You don't need anybody's permission to do B2C, right? You don't need you don't need any investor, anybody's permission. Go ahead, build a product for the market and solve their problems. You don't need anybody's permission. But for B2B, you need a lot of permission.
All right. So Namdi Chineme is asking, do you currently start new businesses with getting external funding in mind or bootstrapping? So the proverbial bootstrap or raise money question.
Yeah. My nature, I like to bootstrap. But over time, I've learned that it's not necessarily the best method. Especially if you want to go far, you might need to raise funding. But then it's a chicken and egg situation. If you also don't get some traction, raising funding might be hard, right? I mean, even for someone at my level, I still find it hard sometimes to raise money that I can probably, you know, just invest and fund the project myself, you know. And the reality is because investors are humans who also are thinking, can he win? Will he win? Right? Is there an opportunity? Is the opportunity being framed? Is this the right approach to the opportunity? Right? You know, so putting all of that in mind, I always advise folks to, you know, try and bootstrap first, you know, and then take it from there and grow. And when you think about people like YC, you know, incubators and accelerators like YC, they will always advise you to start from one corner, like a corner that you can win. Just solve a simple problem first, right? And then take it larger, over time. TransferWise just announced, for example, that their new name is Wise, right? It shows a lot of growth. And I was just looking at their first deck, man. It's nothing like what they have today.
Yeah.
The color was orange. It's now blue. So you just start from one corner, bootstrap to the point where you know enough about the space where you're able to kind of now say, hey, this works, and then it can get easy from that point. So that's my advice. I would say bootstrap works most of the time, but you can't bootstrap a refinery, for example. So if you are going to bootstrap, you have to bootstrap from a small corner, just solving a simple, straightforward problem, and then expanding out from there with funding later on.
All right. I currently have a job, but don't seem to have the courage to quit my job to focus on a tech startup I have in mind. Any advice from Dubem?
Do it on the side, right? A friend of mine said something recently that kind of, touched me, and I would repeat it here. He said, there are many ways to get to the top, but the view from the top is the same, So what did I learn from that statement? Don't let anybody tell you that startups are supposed to be full-time projects. It's not true. I mean, there are different ways to achieve your success. Do your success your own way, right? If you don't have the courage to quit your job, keep on at your job. Don't quit. Simple answer, right? If you quit, you're going to have yourself to regret. Maybe you just don't even have the skills to even get a startup to survive on your own, right? And if you don't have the courage to do it, then you are probably right. Those who have the courage to do it have already quit. I left Indeed to focus. Well, Indeed for me was even a work sabbatical. It was me trying to learn how to work in a corporate organization, if you get what I mean, right? But if that's what you've always been used to, if you don't have the courage to quit, then you're probably right. You shouldn't quit. You can start on the side, validate some few stuff on the side. At some point, you get the courage to go full time, or you might just never go full time and always keep it on the side. And of course, just know that dreams are also very relative. If you keep it on the side, it's almost impossible for you to build $1 billion business out of an on the side project, right? But then not everybody is built out to build $1 billion business, right? Know what you cut out for, know what you want, right? At the end of the day, don't let some frameworks around how things should be done. Don't let what Opeyemi has done or what anybody else is trying to do, force you to try and build something our own way. We are all different kind of people. Like our risk appetite, it's also very different. We also have different levels of ambitions and how we think about the world at large.
Emeka is asking, what happens when bootstrap fund depletes and you're still experimenting with your MVP?
What happens is you die. Exactly. That's what happens. You die. So the general advice, which is correct, 99% of the time, is that don't run out of money. So if you see you're trying to run out of money, you have options. Your options are try and sell, get more money, or reduce your burn rate so that you can have more runway, which is more time before you actually die, right? Or pretty much shut down altogether. There's nothing wrong in shutting down. I mean, when you think about people like Justin Khan, the founder of Twitch, right? Shutting down Atrium after having invested $70 million. This is a guy who's a partner at YC, and years after, he still doesn't know any better. He still can have a failed business, right? So you discover that this thing is, I mean, there's a science to it, but if you're trying to build something big, there's a chance it's going to fail. You get the point. And you have to come to terms with that first, right? I have come to terms with that in my life, and it's worked. It's worked for me, So if it fails, it fails, right? Can you pivot? Yes, but you still need the money to pivot. So there's no simple answer. There's no should I say complex answer around that. It's actually really a simple answer. You die, or you raise more money to continue, right? So yeah, it's either or both.
Someone who is asking if I am meninist. I hope that's the pronunciation. And why am I not taking questions from female founders? I apologize for that. I wasn't. It's difficult for you to actually notice gender, except of course you are a name like this, for instance. Rita O says, also, do you know any single founder tech startups that went on to scale, and what are the things to watch out for when getting a co-founder, especially if the idea already is in, especially if the idea is already in build stage?
Good question. So if I get that question correctly, Rita is asking a question of whether a single co-founder can go on to scale, and if I know any, and the alternative of, since the idea is already in build stage, right? If one is going to get a co-founder, how should one go about it, and what are pitfalls to avoid? Okay, very great question. So yes, there are a lot of single co-founders that have gone ahead to scale. Some of them are like single founders. Some of them are like single founders, and some add help from other founders, but who are like minority shares, right? I mean, the perfect example of that is Elon Musk, right? If I ask you who is the co-founder of Elon Musk, I guess all of us will come up empty, right? On that question, including myself. So I think that's like a perfect example, right? And he's done great stuff, with Tesla, with SpaceX. I think he had co-founders with SolarCity, and there are like Nigerian founders that have also done that well. Lalu of VSL did that super well. Akiala Binarabet did that super well. I mean, there are a lot of folks that have done this like super well. So if in reality, you don't necessarily need a co-founder to succeed. There's a reason why accelerators and incubators want co-founders. And I said earlier, don't play into our hands, right? If you don't need our money, do what you have to do your own way. But there are benefits to it. So I mentioned earlier, one of the things that keeps you going sometimes is your co-founders, right? Your co-founders also are good sounding board for your ideas, even if you're the one that's coming up with all the ideas. They help you prune your ideas, they help you make it better. Then also, you can actually skip work and go on a well-deserved vacation when you have a co-founder. If you have a co-founder, you don't have a strong team, right? You cannot do that. And sometimes I realize that some people that want to be single co-founders by force, they also have a problem in building leadership within the company. So it's more of a trust issue than of a lack of finding co-founders, right? So just make sure that is not you. Because if you cannot leave your company and go on a vacation for 2 weeks, then you are working for the company is not working for you, right? And you're not going to have peace eventually, right? I mean, I'm the largest shareholder in WhoGoHost. I'm the chairman of the company. I rarely spend time with the company. I'm able to do that because I trust the CEO and I trust the team to do great work. And for me, that kind of helped me, clarify some things in my head as to how I want to build companies. If I can't trust the people I work with, then there's no point trying to build the company. You get the point, and the company is not going to grow. So that's that. And now to the pitfalls of getting a co-founder at the time of build. Something tells me that you're already thinking, oh, this thing is already gone far, right? Why should I bring someone on board? If you can't come to terms that you really need those people, right, you really won't find a good fit in a co-founder. And they're not going to be the problem. You are going to be the problem, right? And I'm giving this advice just from experience. I've advised a lot of founders that by the time they finish speaking, they would think I'm going to advise them to go and fight their co-founder. I advise them to check themselves first, because sometimes you are the problem, So when you're already thinking that way, you are like the kind of person that will likely tell your co-founder that, come and take 10%, I'll take 90, right? No, you don't. You're not looking for a co-founder, you're looking for a glorified employee. It's not going to work, right? That's not equality. That's not a good marriage. That's a slave master relationship, right? So you need to come to terms that, okay, if I built it to this stage, yeah, I'm going to have more equity, but I respect the person coming in so much and respect the value that they bring to let them, get something substantial. Now, the one thing to definitely be aware of is that people can change their mind about where their attention or commitment to a venture, and that's why
Indeed.
where vesting comes in. All right. I was recently speaking to a co-founder that had that issue. A co-founder you think would have known all of these things, but then they didn't vest the founder shares, and they've got them into real serious problems. Right.
Mm.
Vesting is very important. If in fact, vest your own shares. And vesting is basically saying, even though we say we own 50% or 60%, I own 6%, 50% or 60%, I don't own everything. I will be getting 1% every month. So basically I'm saying I have to be doing what I need to be doing as a co-founder for 60 months before I can get all the 60%. So that means if you decide that I'm not doing it anymore after 12 months, you can easily go and someone else can come and take the shares and continue the company, And this also means you have enough emotional intelligence to put the interests of the company first, ahead of your own ego, ahead of your own selfish interests, ahead of your own personal expectations, right? And this is also what I find lacking sometimes. In fact, I always tell people that the reality is this thing called partnership is largely about emotional intelligence and nothing else, right? If you are not emotionally intelligent, you have to respect someone else and bring them to the table to work together. Then the rest is just character flaws. It's not really around whether co-founding works or not. It's just character flaws that you have, and you need to work on that. So just to kind of cap that up before I take too much of time on that question, make sure you find someone that you respect enough to bring on board. Understand that it's a partnership, not a slave master relationship, right? Respect them enough to give them enough control and enough opportunity in the business to support you to grow. If you can trust, you can partner. And lastly, even though I'm saying you should trust and respect and give them all the leeway, vest everyone so that if they change their mind or if they don't perform up to expectation, you guys can easily part ways, and everybody will go their separate ways without it having to become a shit show. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Opeyemi. It's been great talking to you. Opeyemi Awoyemi, his history of creating some of Nigeria's most successful businesses. Many of you would know Jobberman, WhoGoHost. He's gone on to also co-found companies like Talent HQ. Right now, he's working on Moneymie, which of course is supposed to be able to create banking or immigrants or people in the diaspora, right?
Yes.
If I'm
The digital bank for migrants. Yes.
migrants, yes. I wasn't sure if the right word was migrants, but yeah.
Yeah,
I
I've
get
studied those words: diaspora, migrants, immigrants. They mean different things, interestingly.
okay.
But I mean, this is not an English class, so I will leave that.
All right. Thank you very much, Opeyemi. All right. Sorry, TalentQL. Why did I say Talent HQ? I don't know. TalentQL. Sorry about that. Thank you very much, every single person, for joining us today. Remember that Building from Ground Up was brought to you by the UK Nigeria Tech Hub, which of course is an initiative of the UK government's Department of Digital Culture, Media and Sports to support the growth of the technology ecosystem in Nigeria. Want to thank also TechPoint for being helping to put everything together. There've been magic fingers in the background, just making sure that everything is working smoothly, and then you're seeing our faces as clearly as possible. Thank you very much. All right, so I want to please, if you did enjoy the session, I know that a lot of you have, said you do, but if you can just put yes or no in the comment section to just let us know how you enjoyed the session, and of course, any comments that you have as concerns the session. Also want to quickly point out for the person who put the question in the comment section, question and comment section, asking if I was Maninist. I'm still thinking that's probably not the right pronunciation. But yes, there are many names here. Many of them are unisex. For instance, there's a Shion Raji I'm seeing here. Chinozo, I'm thinking it's unisex. I'm not sure. Oluwaseyi is also unisex. And, you know, I just took a lot of those names. It was more around the question than the name. You know, the question that I felt was going to open Opeyemi's wealth of knowledge into, you know, helping us more, that I was more focused on. So just wanted to point that out. And I want to say thanks to everybody for joining us. Again, say big thank you to Opeyemi. I want to say big thank you to the UK Nigeria Tech Hub for putting this together. We do this every month, try to bring all some of the biggest thought leaders in the technology ecosystem to basically share on their journeys with you. So we'll be doing this again next month. So we want to look out for that. Also follow the UK Nigeria Tech Hub on social media so that you can be able to know when exactly the next one will be up. So want to say again, Opeyemi, thank you for joining us. I know it's midnight your time, right?
Yes, it's 5 a.m.
Wow, thank you very much for doing this. Really appreciate you. Really appreciate you. Because at some point I noticed that you were rubbing your eyes. I'm like, what's going on? But yeah, because it's bright here. It's like 12:36 in Lagos. So you can
Yes.
imagine how everybody is bright and, you know, sharp here. Thank you again
Yeah,
for
but
joining us.
but don't worry, I get used to this. My first meeting today was at 1 a.m. 8 a.m. Nigerian time. So
Okay, solid. Thank you very much, every single person, for joining us. Again, see you next week. Sorry, next month. And do not forget to go into the comment section and put a yes or no, and just your comments on how you felt the session went before exiting the room. Thank you very much. Have a great one. Opeyemi, see
thank
you.
you very much. Bye.
Bye, everyone.